whole month of October is being commemorated as Breast Cancer Awareness Week. And in India, we have some alarming numbers of 1 in every 40 Indian women is a person living with breast cancer. So we at Sanitation First thought it really significant and important that we should have one of the sessions on women's health that we have been doing through the month of October to be focused on breast cancer awareness. And we are really happy to have with us this evening Dr. Mary Manonmani. Dr. Mary Manonmani, who is a resident physician at the Holy Family Hospital from New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Mary. It's my pleasure to welcome you on this session. And I would like to introduce you to the participants. Dr. Mary is an MD physician from Belize, Central America. And as I had mentioned, she is currently working as a resident in the medicine department at Holy Family Hospital, New Delhi. Dr. Mary has this very unique distinction of becoming a doctor in her mid-40s. And prior to that, she has an MS in information technology from the University of Madras, and her objective is to be a physician with a holistic approach to health and well-being. So welcome to this evening session, Doctor. We really hope the session is useful to all the participants. So without any further ado, can we start by understanding what exactly is breast cancer?
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Padma Priya Bhaskaran. And good evening, all of you here. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening. And I thank Padma Priya Bhaskaran as well as she's a very good friend of mine also. And Sanitation First, both the UK and India for giving me this opportunity and this platform to talk about something which is actually very close to my heart. Actually, breast cancer has been like all of us would have encountered someone in the family or friend circle who has had breast cancer or is undergoing treatment. So it's something which all of us should be aware of. And I'm so happy that I've got this opportunity to talk about this. So what is breast cancer? So breast cancer is like any other cancer. It is a normal cells in the breast change and grow out of control and become abnormal cells. So it grows into the healthy cells and destroy the healthy cells simultaneously. So, and it is discovered usually sometimes incidentally when they do some kind of examination or something, a lump is found, or through certain screening tests, that's all.
So I had mentioned at the beginning of this session about 1 in every 40 women in India is a person with breast cancer. So considering the size of the population in India, this is such an alarming number. I mean, do the global statistics also reflect something similar, or are the numbers different in other countries, Doctor?
Global statistics is also similar. Actually, it's quite alarming because globally, if you see, it is the incidence rate of breast cancer is increasing actually, and if it's about 2.3 million has been diagnosed with breast cancer globally as per 2020.
Okay.
And so in that we have about 685,000 deaths due to breast cancer. That's the global statistics.
So, I mean, that again shows how much we still are not aware about breast cancer. I mean, if there are so many people, as you rightly said, each one of us can relate to somebody who we know, a friend, a family member, a neighbor, somebody who has battled breast cancer, someone who has been lucky enough to survive and win over it, someone else who hasn't been so lucky. So what actually causes breast cancer? Because 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, we didn't hear so many numbers when it came to breast cancer. So what are the causes that we need to be aware of that's causing breast cancer?
So there are multiple causes for breast cancer, which can be rather than saying it as a cause, it is like it's a risk factor because we can't pinpoint any causes as such for breast cancer. It's only a risk factor which could be, and when I say this risk factor and when I list certain risk factors, we need not panic because as statistics again says, about 60 to 70% of the women who are diagnosed with cancer do not have any of these risk factors. Okay.
Okay.
So that is another one thing. But still, to prevent or to modify certain things, these risk factors play a role in creating like the cause for high risk cancer or whatever it is. Okay, so there are a few things like we can list it as non-modifiable and modifiable risk factors. See, certain non-modifiable risk factors are not in our hands. Like in first and foremost thing, being a female is the sex. The female is, we cannot change that. That is one reason. Okay, so that we cannot change. Yeah, and the second is increasing age. As you age, the chances of getting breast cancer also increases. That's another one non-modifiable thing. So like that, you have a list which goes on, like you have a family history. It need not be genetic also, but then there is a family history. If you have your first degree relative or somebody who has been diagnosed with any form of cancer, so you also have a risk of any form of cancer. Along with that is breast cancer. And then there are certain genetic things. I don't know, like if we might be familiar with there are certain mutations. Two particular mutations are there actually. We call it as BRCA1 and BRCA2. So these two genetic mutations are predominantly the high risk category. So if there is anybody who's detected with these two mutations, then they have a high risk of getting breast cancer as well as ovarian cancer. It's related to ovarian cancer also. And then certain things like early menarche. So we attain puberty at certain age, but then if you attain puberty earlier, say before 12 years, so you also belong under that person is also falling under the risk category of getting breast cancer. And late menopause. So you continue menstruating even after the age of 55. So that is also one of the risk factors. So these things are not in our hands. We can't change that. There are certain things which we can change, or some things which you can't call it as we can change, but modifiable, slightly modifiable. Like you be like we say, what you say, pregnancy, having children, along with the breastfeeding. We say breastfeeding prevents breast cancer. So we have to encourage mothers to breastfeed. So that is a way to avoid breast cancer. That is, it's not 100%, but then that's one of the factors which help in prevention of breast cancer. And then your first pregnancy, if it is before the age of 35, that also is one of the things, category for preventing risk breast cancer. So like that, if I say, like these are the major things I can think of. So
okay, I mean, I think that was very, very clear, doctor, to say that there are certain factors that are completely not in our control, because
exactly,
you know, when someone is diagnosed with breast cancer, very often it's not just the patient, but even the family is wondering as to why this person actually had this. So as you say, when the factors are not in our control, I mean, it's just a chance that you end up with it.
yes.
But then when you were to focus on like detection, I'm sure early detection is something that can still help a person win over breast cancer, even if they were to be affected by it. So when do you think self-detection can start among women, and what would be the right manner in which they can self-diagnose or self-detect, which can then be followed up with clinical process?
So rightly said, actually the most efficient intervention actually for breast cancer right now to control is two things: early detection and rapid treatment. So when you detect it early, you get a treatment very quickly, and that is the most efficient way to intervene this particular cancer. So there are a few steps which we can do, and it's like the first and the most simple and most easiest thing what any woman can do is self breast examination. So we have to encourage all women to do self breast examination. So again, when it comes to self breast examination, the question will be, at what age should we start?
Yeah.
So usually above 40 is actually the age we recommend. Even above who have category family, they can start examining themselves from above the age of 35 also. So I think I have lost. Okay.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the things. So if we have to go for, like, how to do the breast examination and all those things, I think it will be in detail. So there are certain symptoms we have to watch out for in the breast when we do self breast examinations. So I think that will be too elaborate if I have to go into it.
Dr. Mary, I think it still makes sense to tell them what are the symptoms that they have to look out for, because that's important, right? Because if someone is listening and wants to start self-examination.
Yeah, sure. So first, I would recommend them to do it every month. Okay. So like how we want to do, like, when we have certain appointments for every month for certain things, like let's say if you want to go to a parlor or whatever it is, it's like that. And the ideal time to do is 3 days after your menstruation. Okay. After your period stops, 3 days after that is the ideal time to do. If you are post-menopause, any time of the month is the best time to do. And if you are when you are in some women feel it comfortable when they are in the shower, because that time it is easier to do all those things. So you can find a comfortable setting for yourself, because it hardly takes less than 10 minutes to do. So what are the things we have to first look for? So the technique and other things you can watch on YouTube and all, but I'll just specifically tell you what you have to look for. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing, you can just feel your breast and see if there is any new change in the breast feel of it, change in the feel of the breast and the nipple. So whether it has become like the texture, there's any change in the texture, or when you touch, if there's any tenderness around the nipple. All those things are the things. Or when you feel if you feel a lump, it can be a painful or a painless one, because not all cancers have painful breast lumps. So we have to look for even painless breast lumps also. So we have to just feel and see if there's any change. Next is you look at your breast. Just look and see if there's any change in the shape or size, any new unexplained, because you have been looking at it for a very long time. So when you see, okay, this month it looks slightly different, there's some change in my left breast is looking different, there's a dimpling somewhere, there's some dimpling in the sense so then you think that, okay, this looks little odd, not like my usual one. Then you can get an opinion from your doctor. Or if you see there is some swelling, or some part of your breast or the nipple has that shrinkage is there, then you can also think about that. So, and then we say you can have the shrinkage means orange tole, like a surungira, like it will be like an orange peel. Yes, wrinkles. So orange peel is the typical an example we can give for how it might look. So you can look for that kind of change. Then any discharge from your nipple. You have to be very watchful about that. And especially, it can be any, whether it is clear, if there is blood mixed, or if it's milky also, you have to go to a doctor and find out if it is okay. Usually a clear and bloody discharge is a cause for concern. Milky discharge could be for any other, not necessarily lactating, any other hormonal imbalance also can cause that. So whatever is the thing, you have to go to a doctor and see when you have such discharges also. So these are the 3 simple things you have to look for, okay, in a self-breast examination. And then for women above 40 years, do an annual checkup with your doctor, because clinical breast examination is also very important.
Okay. So for older people, as you said, they can go and get a mammogram done once a year or twice a year. But what about younger people? Because these days, even people who are younger than, maybe 45 or so, even they sometimes end up with occasions of breast cancer. So in that case, is there something that is there any other form of testing other than a mammogram that younger people can take?
No. So for younger people also, like below 40 years, it is debatable whether to take a mammogram because the brains are, it is like mammogram might not catch the lump or anything in younger breast tissues. Above 40 years, we advise for mammogram, but for younger women, mammogram we don't advise. But still, again, you have to have a discussion with your doctor. It is a what do you say? It's a shared decision making between you and the doctor. The doctor has to decide if you are in that category, because we have these risk categories. If you're below 40 years and if you fall under that risk category, then your doctor will advise you. Then you can take a, because there are chances that you might miss, or you might even overdiagnose also.
So, but when someone undergoes the screening, of course, the benefit is that if there is a cancer, they are able to detect it and then go, as you said, for rapid treatment. But are there any negative effects of the screening itself? Negative effect of doing a mammogram, or because anything that is high radiation. In fact, one of the questions that a lot of women were asking even during Corona is, can I get a chest CT done? Will it increase my risk of getting breast cancer? So these kind of questions are always there with women when it goes to doing any other kind of screening, not necessarily for cancer. So is there any other risk factor with screening?
Risk factor with screening, actually, like how they like this, let me just tell about that CT for Corona. Okay, yeah. I'll do the answer that and then go to the other part. Okay, because that is something everybody is very curious to know.
Yes.
Yeah, so CT chest for detecting COVID. So I would say any radiation is harmful. Okay, any form of radiation to the chest is harmful and it can lead, it's a risk factor for breast cancer. But when it is coming to COVID, when you're testing for a disease which is ongoing, okay, and which is going to happen, or it might in another 5 or 10 years, and that also it should be with prolonged radiation and not with just one CT. Okay. So when that is the case, I would, as a physician, recommend to take the CT chest, because the severity of Corona and the cause of death or the death leading to not diagnosing it correctly is greater than this, because this is an active form, and the breast cancer will become a passive thing when it comes to CT for chest for COVID. Okay, so that, I think that answers my question.
Yes.
Yeah. So in general, because mammogram is something we do every year, right? Like at the age of 40, we start, and every year or every other year, we have to do mammogram. So the radiation is there, but then the radiation is comparatively minimal. Unlike the CT chest. CT chest has a radiation level higher. Whereas mammogram, with newer technologies, with the radiation level is low. Like a chest X-ray, you have a certain level. So the mammogram will come just above the chest X-ray radiation level. And every other year when you're doing, the major advantage of doing mammogram is you are detecting it and the mortality is being averted, right? So when you see that, you feel, okay, this exposure, and studies have not shown so far that because of longer exposure, like many screenings with mammogram has caused breast cancer.
Right. Right. I think that will help a lot of people, put their minds at rest when it comes to going for these investigations.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, if a person has been detected with breast cancer, so what are the treatment modalities that are currently available to them, and up to what level can they be confident that with treatment they can bounce back and lead a normal life?
So usually, if we like now with even third stage also, we have chances of the survival rate is increasing. Like you have the 5-year survival rate and 10-year survival rate and all. No? So it depends on what type of cancer and at what stage you have detected. We have a different stagings in that. So based on what stage you have been detected, and then you have these, whether you are having the hormone which is there, Based on that, also we will know whether how far the treatment will go. So right now in India we have surgery. Surgery is the one treatment in which you have different surgeries. So if you are detected early, we don't have to go for a total mastectomy. We just do only the lumpectomy, or there is a wide, we remove only the excision and take out only the lump, that we call it the wide local excision that is there. So these kind of things will preserve your, conserve your breast. So these are called as breast conservative surgeries. So that is possible only if you are able to detect it earlier and the treatment starts. Then you have the chemo. Even after the breast conservation surgery, we go for chemo. And then with the chemo, we have the radiation therapy. Then the hormone therapy we have, which is a target. So all these things will go for about a year and a half, depending on your stage and what your oncologist feels. So
earlier the better. The earlier that you are...
Earlier the better. So that is why we encourage this detection and screening. So that is only way, because I think there was one question also about vaccine. So there is no vaccine as of now to prevent or to treat breast cancer, unlike cervical cancer.
Right. But even in cervical cancer, the vaccine is only available to adolescent girls, right? So if you're past that stage, then, if you've become sexually active, maybe it won't help you so much.
It doesn't help you, but then it prevents, actually. It is even at the age of 40, women can take, and it helps, they say.
Okay.
So it's not,
but at the moment...
at the moment, it is highly beneficial if they are, before they are sexually active, if they get the vaccination, it's best.
Right. But for breast cancer, at the moment, we don't have any.
No.
Right.
So that's one thing. So that is why we have to go for early detection and rapid treatment. It's like repeating the same thing. Yeah.
Got it. But then, okay, that is early detection and rapid treatment is once you have diagnosed or self-tested that you have breast cancer. But are there any ways that we can practice lifestyle modifications so that we don't end up with breast cancer?
So there's no foolproof thing that we will not end up with breast cancer, or for that matter, any form of cancer actually. But always lifestyle modifications or some changes in life benefits us. So there are certain recommended lifestyle changes. So I will just differentiate it as the positive ones and the negative ones. Okay. So the positive ones are like how I told earlier, breastfeeding.
Yes.
And so breastfeeding is one positive. Then physically active. So being physically active, exercise, what studies have shown is women, especially women after menopause. So obesity after menopause is a negative thing for breast cancer. So there is a high risk for breast cancer if women are obese post-menopause, because pre-menopause obesity does not affect breast cancer because of the estrogen secretion thing. So the post-menopause women obesity actually affects. So weight, so exercise. So exercise is like 300 minutes in 1 week is how you should target yourself. So 300 minutes of exercise per week is actually, they say, is required for calling yourself physically active. So that is one. And then your diet, like you take a lot of calcium rich food, and then vegetables, nuts, those kind of things. And then the negative factor is avoid tobacco use, meaning smoking, or a passive smoker. Even if you're a passive smoker, that can also affect you. That if somebody is there in your family or friend circle or work environment who's smoking, if you are exposed to that time and again, then you also fall into that category. And then alcohol use, excessive alcohol use also is one of the risk factors. Then we have always heard many of them telling that oral contraceptives. But oral contraceptives is a risk factor. But then again, it is for women if they are taking it for more than 5 years continuously. Otherwise, it is not a risk factor. So women should not, because in our country we need these contraceptives also. So we cannot think of one and leave the other. So women who are continuously taking for more than 5 years, they belong to that. They can develop, or it is only there are not many studies. It's only they can develop, and their risk factor actually becomes zero if they stop it after that. If they stop the OCPs, the risk factor also comes down. And similarly, the hormone replacement therapy prior, after the menopause is also a risk factor. Before menopause, hormone replacement therapy is not a risk factor. After menopause, it is a risk factor. So these are the things. So lifestyle modification is simple. Just exercise and dietary changes will help us.
So as we grow older, then it becomes really important that you focus on diet and exercise. So I did a quick calculation as you were speaking. 300 minutes a week means 45 minutes a day. So 45 minutes a day is the ultimate. It is tough, but then it is ultimately necessary if you are going to be focusing on yourself, and ultimately you're the most valuable person in your universe.
True.
So if you need to stay fit and healthy for the rest of your life, enjoy a longer life and better quality of life, then I think that 45 minutes a day becomes non-negotiable.
Correct.
So is there any specific kind of exercise that you would say is recommended? I mean, for diet, you said calcium rich diet. So like that, any particular form of exercise that you would recommend, or general physical exercise like walking, stretching, doing, yoga, that kind of thing would work?
No, I would suggest more than walking, something little more physically active, so that you are able to burn more calories, fat burning. Because walking with 45 minutes of walking is not enough. Because if you have to burn more calories, then you have to walk at least 1.5 hours it takes, and that is not, it's very difficult for many of us who are working and other things. So but don't do too many strenuous. I wouldn't recommend going to a gym or anything like that. So what you can do is you can balance your exercise. Do one day a strenuous, some kind of aerobics or any other exercise what you feel you're comfortable with. Even yoga helps, doing at home. And then, like, because even in yoga you are actually burning a lot of calories, even if it seems as if it is passive, but you burn a lot of calories. So you can choose what is best for you, because it's not here, since we are talking only about breast cancer, women post menopause, we develop even osteoporosis and we have osteoarthritis and everything. So we can't do a lot of strenuous exercises also. So we have to think what is ideally suiting for us, and do it in such a way and take it gradually. So it should be like, one day at a time, and we have to progress, and we have to be like very rigid and following our committed. Yeah, we should. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Right. And the calcium rich diet will tick both boxes, take care of, cancer risk, and also take care of osteoporosis and other, the calcium depletion in the body. Fantastic. So I'm at the end of my questions, Dr. Mary. So to the audience, in case you would like to ask Dr. Mary any questions, kindly unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and please feel free to ask.
Hi, Doctor. I'm Sivakumar from Sanitation First.
Hi, Mr. Sivakumar.
I want to know one thing. How men are affected by breast cancer? Are any chances or any treatment same like women?
Yeah. Actually, men are also affected, but then it's men are affected is only just 1% of the population of men are affected with breast cancer. So breast cancer means anybody who's having breast. So it's not only women, but women are in the higher risk. That is all because of the dense tissue and everything. So men also can get, and the same thing only. But unfortunately for men, we don't have the self breast examination will not help. So to diagnose for men, there are certain other ways of doing. You have to just see your doctor, and it will be usually if they have some other hormone problem also, because there are certain conditions for men which we call galactosemia and all those things. So those kind of men can get breast cancer. But that's just a negligible percentage, so not much is given into that.
Dr. Mary, I had a follow-up question on what Selva had just asked. So,
Okay.
if there is a possibility for men also to get breast cancer, what about people who undergo sex change operation, like people who actually, so even they would fall under the same risk?
Yes, that's what I said. Anybody with breast, like even third genders also have the risk of getting breast cancer.
Okay. Right.
So, like, I think there's not questions. I would like to just answer one question, since it is now we are going through this COVID vaccination.
Yes.
So during anybody who's taken a vaccination, so many of them ask the question, can I do the mammogram screening because I've taken my vaccination? So we don't recommend them to do it immediately. So if you have taken your vaccine now, give at least 2 weeks time before you go for your screening. The reason is always when you have taken the vaccine, there's a possibility the lymph nodes are enlarged. And that will be detected in mammogram as a thing, and it will become a false positive screening. So I would say, so this, I thought I will just share this with the audience. So, because now we are going through this phase of vaccinating the whole country. So
very, very valid point that you made, and I think it's important. So if there are no further questions, thank you so much, Dr. Mary. It was a very enlightening session, and personally, it was a pleasure to speak to you this evening. We do hope to do more sessions with you about women's health, and particularly about breast cancer in the coming days. So on my personal behalf, as well as on behalf of Sanitation First, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on this show this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to all the participants as well. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.